Just for the raise of hands, how many of you guys think you're not creative? You don't have the gene, you cannot come up with the new ideas. Just be honest, like always, just let me know. You have some ideas, obviously, but you not consider yourself to be a creative person or innovative, inventive person. You're more like an organizer. You keep everybody on schedule. Okay, 1, 2. You don't have to be shy. Okay. We need people like you because crazy people like me have too many ideas. I don't know how to handle it. Right? So it's usually a combination with both. So, and who is the opposite? Who is like has too many ideas? Like every new idea is the best one, and just be like full of any kind of excitement. Okay. So I hope this will be helpful for both of you because this is mostly for like I started with doing this because for guys like me because I have too many ideas and I have to organize them somehow. But over time I've learned that I follow certain patterns. How those ideas come into my head. It's not just random, it actually happens with a certain system. And that system that I'm using right now intentionally when I need to create a new idea, even for things maybe I don't like doing, but I need to be creative about it. But the same system can be used for non-creative people to be creative. So basically it's supposed to serve both. So then if you guys don't think you have an idea, actually you do, and you'll kind of discover it today. So I'm going to show you about 10 different patterns, or 10 different formulas, 10 different ways of thinking, how actually innovation happens. And it's fairly simple because I simplify it to like basic levels, so it will be easier for you. You can take this and start using this tomorrow on Monday when you go back to office. So I'm trying to make it very practical. Kind of the notes for this product camp, one of the notes was to share something practical. So we're going to be very practical. And at the end, we're going to do a bit of a workshop. I'll show you a couple products that you're all familiar with. I don't have to explain those are. I'm intentionally selected 2 very basic products. Everybody understands what those are. And we'll try to come up with a list of ideas. I'll say we got a group maybe into 2, maybe 3 or 4 people max. Because if you more people in a group, then kind of it's hard to communicate maybe. But you can do it on your own too. And we'll just count how many ideas you come out with. Okay? So the idea is basically product innovation patterns. We can call it something else, but the pattern, the word means that basically there's a certain system behind it. And so just about me, so like that's my background. I've been all around. I've been doing different things. CTO and product management, and I've been working for big companies like Intel, and I work for myself, and I work for small startups. I've been around basically. I have 3 patents, so I know a little bit about patent. I have 5 apps on the App Store. Just basically like the jack of all trades. And this acronym means I don't know anything. I'm just admitting that I'm not an expert on this. The more you learn, the less you know. That's kind of thing. So by this time, I know that I don't know anything. So I basically have to learn everything every day. So why do we need innovation and why do we need to create new ideas? Because it's very important right now. We live in the moment right now when the innovation is accelerating. Products that were in the market 4 years ago, 5 years ago, they're not relevant anymore. Companies that didn't exist 10 years ago now are billion-dollar companies. And companies that were huge 20 years ago, and Amazon was asking them to promote Amazon, not in business anymore, like Prodigy and AOL, pretty much. This is how Amazon was starting promoting to those companies. So it's accelerating, and because of that, the time to market is getting shorter. You have to come out with the idea, productize it, put it on the market, and end of life it like within a few years. So we need to accelerate the ideas, and the United States is kind of like, I'm an immigrant, basically I came here 20-something years ago. So this is the perfect country to do that, because that's kind of thrives on innovation. One example is that, and it's from 90s, but in the middle of 90s, the company 3M, you probably know that company very well, they had the rule 20 years ago, 25% of the revenue should be coming from the products that were created or invented over the last 4 years within the company. That was 20-something years ago. So they've been betting on innovation, they've been following certain systems, whatever, but can you imagine be like a multi-billion-dollar company and innovate at that rate? It's been a long time ago, it's accelerated right now. You can basically, they can afford to do it back then because they have a staff, but now all of us have to do something else. Let best ideas win. This is not always the case. We hope it is, but it's not always the case unless you execute on the ideas. A lot of good ideas die. So it's your responsibility. But reinvention is actually not hard. So, so what is that? The goal today is for us to, all of us, or to share, whatever, learn how to do creative thinking. Creative thinking is another term for that, and how to apply this for product management, or for any product. You can also use the same thing to analyze your competition and kill them. It's about just detecting patterns, and yeah. And the last point is very important. For us to be innovative, to create new ideas, it's all about questions you ask. If you know the questions that you need to ask, you'll come out with answers. We're all humans, we'll kind of think rationally. If you know the questions, you'll actually come out with new ideas. So let's figure out what those questions are. Definitions, that's another thing. I have a math background, so I usually start with the definitions. That's kind of how it should be structured, right? So innovation has two patterns of thinking. We say, well, there's the problem A and there's the domain D. I will use the word A for just a problem. And, but there's a definition between invention and innovation. A lot of business people are confusing those two. That's what when you read the articles, they confuse invention and innovation. And there's the kind of like outline what the difference is, but the bottom line is the invention is something that never existed before. You create a new category, like inventing the wheel. You're not reinnovating the wheel, you're reinventing it. It was invented, right? Something never existed before, like a light bulb. Right? Innovation is this what you experience most commonly in the enterprise world. It's usually an improvement of something. It may be some product was kind of tweaked a little bit. And we're going to go through those tweaks quite a bit today. So innovation usually minor, unexpected improvement sometimes, but that's what innovation is. It's not invention. Invention is very hard. A lot of inventors die in poor. So let's stay in the innovation business.
Is that Nikola Tesla?
That's right. He didn't make that much money as he could. So that's a famous quote, but the keyword here, a lot of times, not always. People refer to this quote quite often, thinking like it's always. No, it's not always the case. So it's a lot of times that people you want to mock up something, show people before they can decide if they want it or not. Okay, so let's go into the patterns. Pattern number one. I'm gonna start with a very simple one, and I'm gonna end up with a very not intuitive. I'm intuitive, and I get in more and more complex as we go. The simplest one is very simple. The first one is very simple. What can we add to the product? Product managers are very guilty of that and sales and marketing are very guilty of this. They won't always want to add something to the product. And the question is, what are we missing? Are we missing anything? If there's something that we can add to A that complement A as a product, have a complementary feature, not just a big extension. So think of like, this is like an empty space in your product that must be done, and usually comes from user stories, user interviews, whatever. What did we miss in the product which we really add? If something that's relevant to you, something that adds value. And I'll have some visual illustrations. I'll try to put some few visual diagrams. Again, this is not a very artistic presentation because only like I realized that the bootcamp has product campus today. I only realized it yesterday, so I didn't have time to put the next one. So this is just a visual reminder for you. So if you like have an L shape is your product and you're missing something in the upper right corner, think of what that is. Here's an example. If the picture is on the left, if you look at it on the phone, if I'll ask you what is missing on the picture, you may not get the answer. But the obvious answer when you look at the right picture is missing the headphones, because that's what we're using right now, right? Headphones is missing in the phone if you just have a phone. But then you're thinking, what else can we add to this picture that is missing in this product? Charger is the next one, because this phone will die without charger pretty soon. And after that, you're going to the next question, what else are we missing after that?
Case.
Case. And then we're building the whole accessory from there. And what kind of a case, you can categorize them, whatever. And if you have a case, I said, do I need more than one? Yeah, I also need like a phone holder in the car, which I have a magnetic one I can like stick to. So you ask me the question, what can I add, and it even doesn't have to be your product. It can be somebody else's product. So we're good in adding things. We're not good in subtracting things, by the way. But adding things is easy for us. We can add because we like criticize, whatever add, whatever like comment on something. So this is a very like on the surface. This is a very easy pattern to follow. What can we add? What is missing in our product? So the next one is harder one. What can we remove from the product? You know, not every feature we have in the product has value for the customer. We've been playing this feature clip for a long time. We've been adding stuff to our applications, and after a while it became so cluttered, it's even hard to find what the application was supposed to be doing, because it's kind of like confusing, right? So the question is, what can we remove from the product? If you look like in the history of companies like Instagram and whatever, that's how they became successful, by simplifying things.
The headphone jack.
Okay. Yeah, well, and what's the name of this like adapters right now? So a classical example is in the Apple mouse only had one button. I always thought it was a bad decision until I bought a Mac, whatever, some years ago, and my wife said, "Oh, great! There's only one button." She was so happy because she doesn't have to remember and make a decision about it, right? So take two buttons, remove one. Can we play with one? Yes, we could. Well, can we go further? I'll show you an example in a second. So basically, you're looking at something like this. You're looking, that's your product, whatever, but there's something on the side hangs out there like appendix, and you don't really need it in your product anymore. Maybe you needed it some time ago, but you don't need it anymore. Can we remove it? It also releases some resources, dev resources, whatever, support resources. You don't have to support it anymore. Maybe you do something else about this. Sometimes it just hangs there like for a long time. So review your product once in a while. Can we remove something from it? It makes it easy to add stuff when you remove things. So speaking of the buttons, that's the old button. Let's remove the last button we had on the mouse. Now there's no buttons anymore, right? So somebody thought in Apple, okay, well, can we take the one button out? Like, well, how are we going to do this, right? That starts with a question. Then they go and figure out the answer. Once you figure out the answer, you have some kind of innovation. Okay. Yeah, so that's the second pattern. Remove stuff. And I just wrote those down over here. This is basically, you can use all this. Every time you see a calculator, it will remind you. You can add stuff, you can remove stuff, subtract. You can also do multiply and divide. I didn't go into those patterns in this presentation, but you can imagine what multiply would be. If you have some feature or some part of your product, and it is successful, can we multiply it multiple times? Either that feature or that attribute or something. If you take your product and kind of decompose it into the ingredients, which of those ingredients are more important? Should they do more of that? The same with the division. If I have something, you have product, my product became bigger over time, can I split it into two? I had an app, now it does too much. It's too heavy, it does the marketing, does analytics, and does BI, and does God knows what. Let's split those products into two. That's how you divide them, because you don't want to carry all of those things in one box. So very simple, calculate a model. We'll use it today, later at the end, so pay attention. But we'll practice that today. It's very easy. So these are the simple things. The next one is, so we're kind of getting into more complicated territory right now. What is the opposite of A? What is the opposite of my product? What would be the anti-A, like antichrist of this product? This is extremely useful. I wish like you guys pay attention to that, because I'm gonna show you how I use this like almost every time I design increment the product. I'm gonna mention to you in 2 minutes, and you probably can use it starting Monday. So what is the anti-version of your product that you want right now? Think of it as a killer for your product. Let's suppose you have a product. Let me feel yeah, it's already there. Okay. If A is true as a product, can the opposite of A be true as well? That means if I have a product, iPhone on the market, can I create on the completely opposite version of the phone, completely opposite experience, and can that product still have a market? Sometimes not, sometimes yes. And a lot of those restrictions, limitations away come from the nature of it. Can Microsoft not do Windows? Probably they not, but it's because of the nature of their product, right? They're going to be staying in this business forever, right? So if you can consider what is Microsoft will never do, they will never kill Office, they'll never kill Windows. Does it create opportunities for you? Yes, because this is going to be an anti-product for them. They'll never do that, so that's your opportunity. So the way I use it for the products is this. If I have a product and we work on a new version, whatever, when I'm thinking about the new version or next generation of my product is, can I create a product that will kill my product? On a piece of paper, basically, just brainstorm it. What are the strengths and weaknesses of my product? And I'll attack the weaknesses. And I'm a new company, hypothetical company that wants to kill my product. I'm thinking like competition. What would I do to kill my product and grab my market share? This is your weaknesses. You need to know what those things are, and then you can act on them, and I'll show you in a minute how we're going to do that. So here's an example. So it's a square, and square hole and round hole. So the opposite of the square hole will be round hole, and vice versa. So the product is just a visual illustration of what will be like anti-version of A or product. And the real illustration is like those both do the same thing, but they're not actually charging the same thing, right? You're getting gas on the left, and you're getting Tesla charger on the right. So Tesla is kind of the opposite of a gas engine car. Okay, can we take a car? So thinking can go like this. I have a traditional car. How can I kill this car? Well, let's take the engine out. Well, how are we going to run it? We're going to put electric engine. Okay, how are we going to charge it? Well, we're going to put electric. So you go with the anti-version set. Basically, Tesla, like electric car, is the opposite product of a gasoline engine car. Everything is up to date. There's not that much overlap.
But the premise is that you're still going to be solving.
We're serving the same market, different product. One thing that's very important to know, in general, in business and the market, the problems don't change. The solutions do. We're all in the solutions business, not in the problem-setting business. The problems exist without us. And they are the same as they were 20 years ago, 50 years ago. People want the same food, they want transportation, communication, all that. But the solutions change. So we're talking about creating new products for the market, not creating the market needs. Okay, the next one is the upside down one. And it can look like this. I can go to this one. So basically, if this is my product, let's say this is my company hierarchy right now. Can I create a company with this hierarchy? You do the upside down version of your product by asking the question, what would be the upside down of it? And I go back to the question. If I do this with my product or with my system or the process that I have, will it still make sense? Will it work? Will it work in some circumstances? Will it work in some niches maybe? Maybe that's your opportunity. And if we do things upside down, what rules are we breaking? Are we breaking anything? Of course we break something. But if you start kind of like questioning those things from your product perspective, the products you're working on, you discover like a different line of thinking. Okay, can I take this and do the opposite, right? Completely upside down, everything is wrong. Sometimes actually discover something that makes sense. And then you start looking for those patterns on the market, and you actually discover customers who actually do that sometimes. That's your opportunity. So here's a little example. This is a little water tank over here. But now you can upside down. So this kind of thing collects the water from the bottom. This kind of things like water from the top down. It's upside down of those two triangles. A mashup is another pattern. Very powerful, by the way. Can we take a product A and mesh it up with something else? You're familiar with the mashup, it's been a popular word a few years ago, but I come from academic town. It's about 100,000 people in the middle of Siberia, and like one of the best universities there, and about 25 different branches of science. The best scientific discoveries, like 20-something years ago when I was there, were happening on the age of two sciences. So we have a chemist, and we have a computer guys, and the computational chemistry can only exist when you put those two guys together. So a lot of things in discovery were happening when you combine and mesh up two things. So that's another pattern. Can you take your product take the benefits of your product and mesh it up with the benefits of another product. It can be yours or it can be somebody else's product. And product B can be a market leader. And now they're missing something. Now you bring your benefits of your product to the market, to product B, and it's win-win for you and for them. You can do it within your domain, or you can do it across domains, because when you bring your expertise to them, to their domain, and you, for example, they're not computer scientists, you bring it to them. I just came from a gold mining company. I was there for like 10 months, digging gold, and we tell them about digital technology, and I said, huh? I said, I make this, I scoop this ore, this $8,000 of gold in this ore, I don't need technology. They do, but they're not there yet. But then combining those two things together, you actually, over time, you create a lot of value for them because it's all about has to be tracked, KPIs, whatever. So they kind of understand, but they're not there yet. It's going to take time. So takes advantage, mixing A with something else, you can always come out with something you can mix your products with. Here's an example. It's like a square box. You put two different things on it, and now it looks like a car. You, like each of those two tires by themselves and the box in itself, they don't have values. Basically, they have their own values, but when you combine those two things together, you have a completely new dimension. Okay. Another one is, can I take my product to a completely new territory? Something where the product does not belong. I didn't think about applying the product. I didn't think about using it there. Just completely to a different new domain. Will it work there? And I'll give you a couple examples. You discover by asking that question, will my product work on the moon, or in the space, or underground, or in the air? You're testing your product mentally for use cases that the product was not originally designed for, but it expands your horizons. And then you're asking, can I modify my product to work over there? And when you do, you actually discover some features or benefits that actually can benefit the main domain of the product. If you're speaking about, NASA space program been for a while, and I think I saw the website, they have a long list of innovations that have to be created to work in space that now we use in our daily life on Earth. So that was line of thinking. You just basically put it in space, and we discover, oh, we can use the same thing on Earth. Can I build our success with A and expand to another market? Here's an example of space pen. I don't know if you guys know the story of space pen. Do you guys know about space pen story? It's kind of funny when, NASA, the embarrassing story for NASA, but when the space program started in US, whatever, the question was, when we send astronauts to the space, they have to take notes. The pen wouldn't work there because there's no gravity. Can we create a pen that will write in space? And they didn't know how to do so. Okay, some guy came out, was a contractor, and he said, well, kind of like design it for you. They designed, I think they spent this different numbers. I have a number between $1 million and $10 million that they spent to design that pen that will work in space. We've been always asking, how did Russians do that?
Pencil.
Russians use pencil. No, they didn't know that. So they get the space pen and spend a bunch of taxpayers' money. I went to Amazon yesterday, they still sell that pen, and if you look on the description, it's made in the US, whatever operates in zero gravity. Most of us would not need that, right? But you can buy it on Amazon. But I'm sure as they were designing that, they found something that can be useful for some other products. But change environments are the same line of thinking.
The sad part, if you bring this pen on spaceship and it doesn't work, and you have to get sent back to you on the Prime, I don't know.
Amazon does deliver to space, but SpaceX it's not delivered. So. Here's another one which you're going to work on this later today. You took the candle and you create a virtual candle. It's an app on the phone. You can blow it, it will actually shut it off, and you can also touch it. We see touch sensitive flame, you touch it, it actually changes the flame as you do.
Does it burn your finger?
No, if you hold it for a long time, it's a fire.
Not yet.
But you took the idea, you took the product of a candle and put it on a different environment. Same thing, same pattern. The next one is like more animate thing. It's kind of probably needs to spend more time on this, but It's a random shot, like, like sometimes you heard this, like you throw spaghetti to the wall, see if it sticks, right? Just gonna do random. You take your product and just gonna do some kind of crazy, you explode it, whatever, right? Do something crazy with it, something random without thinking about it, and see what happens. A lot of this happens like in the brainstorming sessions, and just you never know. Sometimes it works, but it's more because our minds are working in the context. Even if you're thinking randomly, actually you're not. You have certain thinking patterns in there. And I see, this is where it was like midnight last night. I stopped. I mean, there's not much of illustration anymore because I ran out of time yesterday. So I'll just kind of explain to you guys with hands, right? Out of failure, that's another interesting pattern because, especially for the startups, you create a product and it didn't work out. For some reason you think it didn't. Can you benefit from this product somehow? Can you reposition to a different market? Can you do some tweaking? You can basically ask a lot of, like a series of questions. What did we learn from this, right? How can I apply this learning in the next product, or can we apply this learning back into the same product? A good example of this is a famous Post-it note, right? It was a failure. It was a glue failure. They designed a glue which was not sticky, right? And like they figured out what can we do with this glue because we spent some time developing. I don't remember the name of the guy. He said, well, I'll create the sticky that actually kind of like it's not real, doesn't really stick well, but it sticks well enough so you can write those notes. So it was a failure converted into success.
There's more to that story. When he first made that product, he pitched it,
Yeah.
and management turned him down.
Yeah, they did.
And then he just started making them anyway and passed them out to the secretaries in the
Correct.
office and stuff.
Exactly
They
right.
started using it
Exactly right.
wholesale, and all of a sudden, when they realized what adoption had in there, then he was able to win over management.
Exactly right. It was a genius move to give it to the customers, not to the decision makers. Decision makers, it's the same true story with VCs here, by the way. They don't know the market. If you're a startup, you're building a company, you go to VCs, you're trying to convince them. They're not expert in your product or market or customer base. You are. They're experts in money. And jockeys, not horses, right? You need to know the horses, you need to know what's happening. You have to convince them, but it's your responsibility, not theirs, to know the market. So you have to know your customers. Okay, dialectics. This is a very interesting one. It's number 9. How guys are familiar with the philosophy and dialectics? This is the only useful thing I learned from my philosophy course in the university. It became so extremely useful. So, and I mentioned this earlier a little bit. So the law of dialectics goes like this. There's the thesis, there's the antithesis, and synthesis. The antithesis, we talked about this earlier when you create anti-product of your product. Just do everything that your product is not, just imagine the product. So that's a part of this thinking. So thesis is your product, antithesis is your anti-product. Then you merge those together into one product. This is usually how it goes. Can you kill your own product by creating a better alternative, which is anti-product of yours? You design on a piece of paper, you think all this feature, whatever, like addressing your weaknesses. And then you need to do something very important. Then you have to merge your current product and your anti-product into the next version of your product, the next generation of product. Because if you do this, you're addressing all your weaknesses. Sometimes it requires the architect to change, sometimes it requires something else. Sometimes you may reposition the product a little bit. By addressing those weaknesses and designing your killer, your own killer, you're creating more robust, more bulletproof product. Same applies with the company. Your company is your product if you're creating a startup. If you're working on the product, can I create a new startup that will kill this one by the time we launch? Yes, we can. What would it be? What is the weaknesses that they can exploit? Let's design a piece of paper and let's add it to our main product, or to our product line, or to our company, or business processes. So it goes like this. So you start over here. You create anti-product by asking what is the killer, and it's a spiral of evolution. Basically, then you move your product to the next level by integrating all these features into your product, and this spiral continues. And you continue doing this. Once you have a new version of the product, you ask the same question: how can I kill that product now? Okay, oh, this is X, Y, and Z. Okay, we can go here, whatever. Because you always have some kind of a constraints and limitations. By trying to kill your own product, you're creating a better product. You redesign your own product to be better, more robust, more bulletproof. I worked for Intel for some time. 2 years ago, something I was Intel rep for Siberia, Far East of Russia. I had like 7 time zones per person. I had more time zones per Intel employee than anybody else in the I had 7 time zones to cover, right? And Intel always had 3 products in the product. One is the like Pentium back then. That's product right now that sells on the market. The next product is kind of like getting into pre-production testing stage, which will be launched in about a couple of years. And the third product will be about like in the early R&D stages, which will launch probably in the range between 4 and 7 years. Those 3 different teams, they're not even talking to each other, and sometimes they work on the different architectures. That's what it takes to create a product and the killer for that product. So the product plus 1 is supposed to obsolete the current product, and product plus 2 will obsolete product plus 1. That was a good lesson. This is how they're doing this, and all the companies doing the same right now, because you have to stay competitive with yourself before some other competition will kill you. Okay? And the next one is completely unintuitive. We may try to play the game. I'll try to explain it first, and we can use some examples because I didn't have enough time to illustrate it. It's called a tech cloud. I use it for a long time, I don't know, 10 years or so. The tech cloud means you can create new ideas by throwing keywords. Well, let's play this right now because I know what's going to come out of it. We'll see. Let's just give me some nouns. So, for example, I'll write the word, let's say car. Give me something else that's not car. That's 30 minutes I just spent. Give me some word that is not car. Give me some, whatever.
Airplane.
Huh?
Airplane.
Airplane.
Airplane. Okay. Airplane.
Drone.
Drone. Can we just diversify it a little bit more?
Spaghetti.
Something that's not okay, airplane and drones already in the airspace, so that's something that's completely. What was that one?
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti. Okay. Okay, I don't know how to spell it, but okay.
H-E-T-T-I.
Something else, something from kids or something from family, something from women, something from athlete, whatever. Just some other.
Shoes.
Shoes. Okay. Shoes. And you keep throwing those things. This can be keywords that describe your product or not. Just pick random words. When you trying to invent your own product, you start with it, kind of a word describing your product one way or another. But then you add some other words, completely not related. This is, we can call this data. This is like islands. These isolated islands, and they have isolated their own context. Then you do this. You just randomly take and start connecting things with the line. The difference between the data and information is the connections. You can throw a bunch of data points. If they're not connected, there's no information. It's just data. Those connections describe the information. So now you can randomly connect it, so it's called tech cloud. So we have different tags. So okay, if I want to create some kind of a car that has some kind of a drone features, what would that be?
Light.
Hmm?
Propeller. Full propeller.
4 propellers on the car. I've seen actually that. They have this little like helicopter. I think they're already testing it in China. 30 minutes flight time, whatever, right? So you start just creating the product ideas, innovating ideas from something that you're already kind of comfortable with. What if I forget, I want to connect like whatever, spaghetti and shoes? Can I design the shoes that look like spaghetti? You know, like
Shoelaces.
shoelaces could be spaghetti, right? Okay, so you throw a bunch of tags, you decide how many, related or not related, and then start randomly connecting them. This is a very powerful to come out with a lot of ideas because it breaks your patterns in your thinking, how you used to think usually. Because this is going to cost you, because the first question after you do this, what does it mean? It doesn't make any sense. Car and spaghetti. Can I have a spaghetti cooker in the car? can I have well,
Drive-through.
can I have a drive-throughs for spaghetti?
Spaghetti, yeah.
Can my antenna look like a spaghetti instead of one stick?
Kashi pasta.
All right,
There you go.
there you go. This is how you become very super creative by asking the question, what does it mean? So this was pattern number 10. So now we have a few more minutes. You can use plus and minus extra. Just take a piece of paper. You can get a group of 2 or just by yourself. Let's spend the next 5 minutes. Here's what we're looking for. Try to reinvent either candle or straw or both. The reason I choose these 2 just randomly because they're fairly simple objects that we all understand what they do. Can I add, remove, multiply, or divide something about this product that will create an innovative product? I'm not sure you can burn a candle upside down, though. I was thinking about that. What can I do upside down? Upside down, probably not. But maybe you could. But try to think about this. How many ideas you can get? Just let's spend the next 2-3 minutes, whatever. Just write. Just take a piece of paper, and if you have an idea, just put a stick, and in 3 minutes we'll see how many you have.
I'll send it down.
If you like burning candles, I like burning candles at home, especially if it was cold for the last 2 weeks at home. Turned them on, like a little nice, and I said, well, what can I do about this candle? Not gonna look the same. You start paying attention, and you find a lot of there's a lot of small shops and like candle shops in the small towns. And maybe you've been to those. They make candles right in front of you. They all look the same, pretty much. But sometimes they're very artistic. They can all make look like cakes and like houses, whatever. So just to help you with the thinking, what are the problems about these 2 products? You can start thinking that way. Because you're trying to come up with a solution using one of those patterns, add whatever, which is fine. But what's the problem you're trying to solve? It sometimes helps the way. Well, this thing has a wax kind of flowing all over it, right? That's the problem. What's the problem with this one?
Lack of biodegradability, landfill.
Okay, well, but maybe I'm not experiencing that. But I understand it. Yeah, actually, it's a big problem. It's because it has to be recycled. The problem I had with this one, I lived in Houston for 12 years, and they serve iced tea with lemon. And lemon seeds always stuck in it. That's the problem.
All you need is a seedless lemon, a different approach to the problem.
I will take probably a lot of resources, whatever, but actually, I saw one straw that actually has an X in the middle. In the bottom. Well, that's great. Can I create something that can stick on the nose over here that I can put a mannequin? So this will like close it, but protect me from lemon seed. So you can look for the problems, you can describe those things, but just try to be creative. Can I multiply a straw somehow? Multiply it. Can I divide straw? I don't know. Can I add something to it? Can I remove? Probably hard to remove something from a straw. I know I can divide the candle. I can multiply it. Can I multiply weeks? Yes. I've seen those. It's pretty cute. The big one has like 3 weeks inside.
You get faster product consumption that way.
That's right. Ideal scenario when you create some kind of a innovation in your product and increases your sales. And plus you're different. You increase in sales because you're different and because the product kind of like usage kind of increases sales because the product works fast. All right. So we're not gonna, perfect timing. So raise your hand, who has more than 5 ideas? Good. You said you're not creative.
Well,
Well, how many you have? How many different ideas?
I've used quite a few ads to the candle, adding a
Right,
fragrance,
good,
color,
That's right.
shape,
that's right.
and then the problem to address so that it doesn't, the melting thing doesn't, just have something in the
Right.
bottom.
You can create some kind of candle holder,
Yeah.
you can put it into something,
And
get a bunch of accessories over there.
Yeah, and I think those are the ones. And then the same thing for the straw, for like the kids, they have this spiral
They have
thing.
all these spirals, now they have the whole words like party
Yeah,
written
yeah.
with it. Yeah. Some of them are metal. That's just general thinking for you guys. If you look on any product, it's a good exercise to try to write all the attributes of the product: material, size, shape, and on. I didn't have to write it down yesterday, but there's a Coke and Pepsi battle going for a long time. Coke always wins so far. It started partially because Coke had this better bottle, better for marketing. But I read it in John Scully book, the guy who was with Steve Jobs, because he was with Pepsi before, and in his book he described the story when Pepsi was always competing with the Coke. And in the mid-80s, they said, we can't figure out another way to sell more products, and what they came out with, said, well, let's forget about the shape of Coke, because they've been trying their own bottle and it just didn't do it. What they did is, they did the experiment, they created a 2-liter version. Instead of just using 3033, basically like one glass of Coke, a small bottle, they created a big plastic bottle, 2 liters, maybe 1.5 liters back then, and give it to like a few number of ounces for a month. And we'd come and check with them every week or two how they're going, and said every time we come to the house, the bottles they're out. So we discovered that's not the shape or marking the Coke that makes it sell, but the availability of that product in the house. So we said we don't care about the shape of the product anymore. We don't care about the brand in the bottle. Let's just start making big bottles, and they didn't care about shape anymore. And in liter volume, of course, they sell much more product. So if you look on all the characteristics a little bit of your product, you can start tweaking them one at a time using one of those patterns. That's all I have for today. So this is my contact information. What else did I do? Again, I just left a big company, now I'm offering consulting, so I'll just tell you about that. You guys can ping me. We do these brainstorming sessions, innovation, what else is there? Workshop and coaching. I've been an idea guy all the time, so I understand the idea process and idea generation pretty well. So if you need it for yourself, if you want to be more creative, or you want it for your company, which I highly recommend. If you work on the product, it doesn't matter if you're a startup or if you're a big company, you need to keep reinventing something to stay competitive. Let me know, I'll help you. One of the things that I did last year, so I wrote a little ebook, which I'm also training. If you guys in the app business, how to create app idea and validate this idea before building the product or before hiring the developers. Let me know if you need help with that. There's 2 million apps in the App Store. The chances that your app will fail are fairly high because of competition, but you can save yourself a lot of time and money by validating the idea before you build the product. And I can kind of walk you through the whole process how to do that. So I have 5 apps in the App Store. So. And for those of you in the corporate world, if you guys are interested in like working with the team, just let me know. We'll work with the team. It doesn't matter what the team size is. Well, basically, it's a creative thinking training. It's all trainable. You don't have to be a genius in any way. You just need to know what questions to ask. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.